After my CEO husband, James, slapped me hard in the face to avenge his beloved young girl, Emma. With blood streaming from my nose and mouth, I awakened my memories of my past life. After learning that I would soon be driven to a tragic end by James and Emma, leaving not even a trace of my remains, I had a complete change of heart and, without any hesitation or entanglement, signed the divorce agreement that James handed to me. James thought that I was deeply in love with him, and that after being kicked out by him, I would surely wait for him to come back without any complaints or regrets. A year after the divorce, he knocked on my door. He was stunned when he saw me with a big belly and a handsome man standing behind me. I was reborn. I was reborn at the moment when Emma, the girl my CEO husband James loved, attempted suicide. 3 years after our marriage, my CEO husband James became madly infatuated with a young girl named Emma. Mole and James met and dated every day. They held hands, hugged, and kissed, doing all the things that lovers do. However, Mole strictly resisted taking the relationship to the last step. Mo said that she was a traditional person and that she must save her first time for her wedding night and offer it to the man she loved the most, who would also be her only husband. James adored Emma like this. He didn't think that Emma was being pretentious at all, but rather that she was of noble character, pure, and innocent. He secretly gave Emma flowers, luxury goods, a villa, and a luxury car behind my back. He abandoned me, his wife, to accompany Emma on her birthday and Valentine's Day. He even left me on our 3rd wedding anniversary just to chase after Emma and give her a surprise. I was kept in the dark and only learned about all this after he left me to be with Emma. On our 3rd anniversary, like the previous 2 times, I cooked a table full of delicious dishes at home and waited for James to come back and celebrate. But James didn't come home all night. He didn't answer my calls or reply to my messages. And even his assistant didn't know his whereabouts. When I was so anxious that I was about to call the police, an unknown number added me and sent me a video. In the video, my husband James, whose whereabouts I couldn't find, was gazing tenderly at a fresh and beautiful strange woman. Fireworks exploded behind them, and James bent down and kissed the woman's red lips. I was stunned when I saw the video, and then overwhelming anger and jealousy filled me. I immediately had someone investigate the woman in the video. I soon learned all about her. Her name was Emma. She was 20 years old and currently studying at University A. The encounter between Emma and James was very dramatic. While working part-time to support herself through school, Emmy accidentally slipped when she was delivering drinks to James' private room in a nightclub and fell into James' arms. The drinks she was carrying stained James' clothes. James, who was usually a germaphobe, didn't fly into a rage. Instead, after seeing Emma's stunningly beautiful face clearly, he let Emma off. Later, they met a few more times. Seeing how hard Emma was working to earn her tuition fees, James felt very sorry for her and decided to help her financially. After learning that James had been with Emma behind my back for 3 months, I was so angry that I found Emma and warned her to stay away from James. Mirrored at me and said, "You're so pitiful. A dirty woman who was humiliated by a man before marriage. Do you deserve James? James said that when he sees you, he'll think of you naked. He feels disgusted just thinking about it. If it weren't for the fact that you were childhood sweethearts, he would never marry a woman who is available to any man." I was deeply stimulated by Emma's words. Jealousy and anger filled my heart, and in a fit of madness, I raised my hand and slapped Emma. Because of this slap, Emma couldn't bear the humiliation and chose to commit suicide by cutting her wrists. She didn't succeed. She was soon discovered and rushed to the hospital for emergency treatment. When my husband James, who was at a negotiation table, heard the news of Emma's suicide attempt, he dropped a multi-billion-dollar deal and rushed to the hospital in a hurry. Mo threw herself into James' arms and exaggerated told him how I had bullied and humiliated her, crying pitifully. Seeing the clear slap mark on Emma's face and the wound on her wrist, James flew into a rage. He had his bodyguards drag me to kneel in front of Emma and apologize and admit my mistake. Of course, I refused. I even pointed at Emma and scolded her for lying, faking her suicide to gain sympathy, and being greedy. Seeing that I was so stubborn and not only refused to apologize but also dared to insult his beloved so arrogantly, James, in a fit of extreme anger, slapped me hard in the face in front of everyone. I was so weak that I was knocked to the ground. Blood gushed out of my nose and mouth. Suddenly, a series of incredible memories flooded into my mind as I lay there with blood all over my face. That was my pitiful, tragic, and extremely miserable past life. In my past life, after being beaten by James until my nose and mouth bled, I didn't blame James at all. Instead, I shifted all the blame onto Emma. I thought that it was this seductress, Musta, who had bewitched James and made him treat me so heartlessly. I thought that only when Emma disappeared could I make James change his mind and come back to me. In order to make Emma disappear completely, I went to the place where she worked at school and caused a scene. May lost her job and was even expelled from school. I thought that James would change his mind and come back to me. But I never expected that after James learned that I was behind all of Emma's misfortunes, he hated me even more. He thought that I was unreasonable and didn't know when to stop. He would never allow Emma to be bullied and harassed by me like this. To avenge Emma, James heartlessly handed me a divorce agreement. And in my past life, I was so deeply in love with James that I refused to divorce him no matter what. I cried and made a scene, threatening to kill myself. I thought that this way I could win James' heart back, but I didn't realize that a man who had changed his heart would never turn back. My crying and acting out just pushed James further and further away from me. Finally, after I refused to sign the divorce agreement for the 8th time to let James and Emma be together, James lost his patience and decided to divorce me through legal means. On the night when James filed for divorce, Noah was kidnapped and almost raped by a group of kidnappers. All the evidence pointed to me as the mastermind of all this. Furious, James retaliated by throwing me to the kidnappers. I was raped and killed by the kidnappers. After I died, my soul didn't disperse immediately. I heard the conversation between the kidnappers. It turned out that all of this was a drama written and directed by Emma herself. From the beginning to the end, Me's so-called purity and chastity were all pretenses. Her goal from the very start was to capture James' heart and become his wife. First, she pretended to dirty James' clothes while working to test James' reaction. After confirming that James didn't dislike her, she staged a few more chance encounters to get closer to James. Finally, after confirming that James had fallen for her, Mai played hard to get and pretended to be chaste to bewitch James. She deliberately pretended to be pure and kind and drove me crazy by sending me various provocative videos. With my constant quarrels, James hated me more and more. He believed Emma wholeheartedly. So much so that when Emma staged the kidnapping herself, James firmly believed that I was the culprit without any investigation. Facing the misery, pain, and despair before I took my last breath, I shuddered. I stared at James and Emma, who were hugging each other with bloodthirsty eyes. Perhaps my anger and hatred were so intense that James, who was comforting Emma in his arms, finally spared a moment to look at me lying on the ground. When he saw me embarrassed and in a sorry state, with blood streaming from my nose and mouth, James was taken aback for a moment. A trace of pity flashed in his eyes, and he let go of Emma, whom he had been holding tightly, and came to help me up. The urge to tear him apart filled my heart, and I slapped his hand away. "Get away, don't touch me." When James saw how crazy I was, he frowned and said unhappily, "Olivia, how could you become so unreasonable?" He scolded me, "This is all your fault. If you hadn't been acting like a madwoman without any dignity, why would I have hit you? Be good. I'll take you to see a doctor and deal with this first. We can talk about the apology later." Despite my strong opposition, he picked me up in his arms and was about to take me to the doctor. Just as he carried me out of the door, there was a loud bang from the ward. Miyu on the hospital bed suddenly fell off the bed. Turning around and seeing Emma lying motionless on the ground, James immediately put me down and rushed towards Emma. What's wrong with you, doctor? Call the doctor right away." James was completely focused on the fainted Emma, and didn't pay any attention to me anymore. I wiped the blood still flowing from my nose and staggered to find a doctor. My mouth corner was broken by James, and my nose was also injured, with the blood vessels ruptured and bleeding non-stop. After the doctor treated me, I left the hospital covered in blood and went back to the home I shared with James. Speaking of which, James and I were childhood sweethearts and were inseparable as children. We were the perfect couple in everyone's eyes. People who knew us all knew how deep our relationship was and that we were destined to be together when we grew up. But just as James and I grew up, my family fell into decline. James' family wanted to back out of the relationship, but James loved me deeply. He stood firm and only had his heart set on me despite the pressure from his family. After a 2-year stalemate, James' family finally agreed to our marriage. But on the night before our wedding, I'm in trouble. I was kidnapped. The kidnappers stripped me naked, took a video, and demanded a ransom of 50 million yuan from James. When James and his men found me, I was left naked on the mountain. Although I wasn't violated by the kidnappers, the intimidation and such humiliation caused me to develop severe psychological problems. I couldn't bear any man getting close to me. Not even James. James truly loved me at that time. He didn't mind that the kidnappers had seen my body. He swore to me that he would marry no one but me in this life, and he would stay with me, take care of me, love me, and never give up on me. James took the pressure and gave me the status of Mrs. James. After we got married, since I couldn't accept his touch, he didn't touch me. He accompanied me to see a psychologist and provided me with the best material comforts. James hoped that I could get out of the shadow, and I was also desperately trying to overcome my nightmares. But I never expected that while I was receiving treatment, he actually fell in love with another woman behind my back. The so-called for a lifetime that he kept talking about only lasted for 3 short years. In my previous life, after James threw me to the kidnappers and I was raped and killed by them, he sneered in disgust and said that I deserved it. Then, without any burden, he grandly married Emma. Their wedding was called a grand wedding and was reported by the media for several days and nights. They were affectionate and harmonious, had both a son and a daughter, and lived a happy life. And I was nailed to the pillar of shame for my whole life. Everyone who mentioned me said that I deserved it, but I had squandered a good hand of cards and ended up with such a fate. I really deserved it. Why was I so obsessed with believing James' illusory vows? Why did I believe that he would be faithful to me and never change his heart? Going through the cruel experience of death finally made me wake up with a complete understanding. No one will love you unconditionally for a lifetime. Neither your parents nor your husband will. Only you yourself will love yourself for a lifetime. Knowing the tragic ending of my previous life, I won't be so obsessed anymore. If James likes Emma, let him like her. If he wants to divorce me, I will never stop him. Now I have only one thought. Even if James doesn't want a divorce, I will find a way to divorce him. In this life, I want to leave James and start my own life. James never came back after that day. However, I know his whereabouts clearly. Mo was discharged from the hospital after staying there for a week. James was afraid that she would commit suicide again and has been accompanying her. To provoke me, Mo Jing-dim has been using a secondary account to send me daily photos and stories of her and James being affectionate. James really likes Emma. Because he feels that he has wronged Emma, he sends her roses symbolizing love every day. He, who never does any housework, would condescend to make a loving breakfast for Emma. He accompanies Emma for walks and watches movies with her. He would feed Emma popcorn during the movie, they would share a cup of cola, and they would kiss passionately in the cinema. He also bought a pink diamond worth hundreds of millions at an auction to make Emma happy. Although their relationship has always been very close, they have never crossed the last line. Emma continues to play hard to get. She still refuses to go all the way with James. James has enough patience for Emma. He forgets that he has a wife like me at home and puts all his heart and soul into Emma. To help Emma completely get out of the shadow of her suicide attempt, he took Emma to Switzerland for a relaxing trip. When passing by the Alps, he heard a legend about the Alps. When a young man courts a girl in order to show his loyalty to love, he has to overcome numerous difficulties and dangers, bravely climb the mountain, and pick the alpine rose to give to his beloved girl. After hearing this legend, James personally climbed the Alps and picked the alpine rose on the mountain to give to Emma. Emma sent all these sweet and affectionate daily moments to me through her secondary account to show off. She thought that I would go crazy and do something terrible when I saw her and James being so affectionate, but my heart was as calm as still water. My love for James had already died in my previous life. Now I won't let James stir up any emotions in me. My only request now is to divorce James. Since I let go of James, I've been eating well and sleeping well, and I haven't had any nightmares for a long time. When I went to the hospital for a checkup, my psychologist told me in surprise that my condition had improved. In my previous life, the shadow of being molested by the kidnappers haunted me, and I hated men's touch. But now I won't let out earth-shattering screams when being touched by strange men. This is undoubtedly a very good development for me. After coming out of the hospital, I went to my favorite restaurant and had a delicious dinner. Then I went home and took a rose petal bath. I fell into a sweet dream. In my sleep, I felt something touching my face. Reacting instinctively, I raised my hand and slapped hard. There was a loud slap, and a numb pain came from the palm of my hand. I opened my eyes and saw James beside the bed, covering his face. Seeing James, hatred filled my heart. I used all my strength to slap his other cheek. After being slapped twice in a row, James reacted and grabbed my hand. He thought I was having an episode and mistook him for someone else, so he immediately spoke to remind me, "It's me, Olivia. Of course, I know it's you. I'm hitting you, you heartless, cruel, and shameless thing." Since James thought I was crazy because of my illness, I might as well go completely crazy. I screamed and bit and kicked James. He didn't expect me to go crazy all of a sudden. James held my hand tightly, trying to calm me down. How could I calm down? Since I couldn't slap him with my hand, I would bite him with my mouth. I bit James' hand fiercely without any mercy. The taste of blood filled my mouth, and James' face contorted with pain. He shouted angrily and pushed me hard. I was pushed to the ground and fell heavily out of the bed. I got up and rushed towards James again. I kicked him hard in the groin. James let out a scream, covered his groin, and squatted down. He shouted hoarsely and without any dignity, "Olivia, stop, it's me. I'm James." Of course, I wouldn't stop. While James was covering his groin and had no strength to resist, I rushed over and scratched him a few times with my nails. James' face was scratched and bleeding by me. He shouted hoarsely and called for the bodyguards. Finally, the bodyguards came up and restrained me. With blood on his face and covering his groin, James angrily ordered the bodyguards, "The madam has gone crazy. Send her to the hospital, send her right away." I was forcefully taken to the hospital for a checkup by the bodyguards. Naturally, the doctor couldn't find anything wrong with me. Because I used to have the habit of going crazy and attacking strange men who touched me, the doctor also thought I was having an episode. The doctor just said that I mistook James for another man and had such a big reaction because I was scared. James had scratches all over his face, a big bite wound on his wrist, and was kicked in a crucial place by me. He was in an extremely embarrassing state. To prevent infection, James got a tetanus shot at the hospital. And I was given a sedative by the doctor and fell into a deep sleep. I was sound asleep when I heard a woman sobbing. I squinted my eyes and saw James with his back to me and Emma beside him, crying pitifully. "How could she treat you like this? She's a crazy woman. Me completely crazy woman. I feel so sorry for you seeing you being hurt like this by her. Stop crying, I'm okay now." James comforted her softly. "What if she attacks you again in the future? A crazy person is so scary. I'm worried that she will use even more extreme means against you." James replied, "Most she's sick. She didn't mean to treat me like this on purpose. I promise to take responsibility for her, so I will take good care of her for the rest of my life." Ma didn't expect that I went crazy at James instead of her. When I went crazy at James, Ma thought that James would definitely hate me to the core and that he would give up on me. But she never expected that James, who was beaten black and blue by me, didn't do as she had imagined. This development caught Emma off guard. If James refused to divorce me out of pity for me, how could Emma realize her dream of becoming the CEO's wife? Ma didn't want to give up halfway. She racked her brains to persuade James to give up on me. Now she just punches and kicks you when she goes crazy. But what if one day she takes a step further and picks up a knife to attack you? The consequences would be unimaginable. "James, I'm so scared. I'm really, really worried about you." James comforted Emma. "That won't happen. I'll be on my guard in the future. We can't just hope for the best and not prepare for the worst. Haven't you ever thought of leaving her?" Seeing that James wouldn't say the word divorce, Emma had to say it herself. "James, divorce her. I know you feel sorry for her situation. After the divorce, you can still support and take care of her. I just don't want to see her hurt you like this again." Ma hugged James and cried, asking him to divorce me and separate from me. I thought James would agree to Emma, but to my surprise, he still didn't agree. He let out a heavy sigh. "Emma, this is what I owe her. I owe Olivia. No matter what she does, I can't divorce her. You should know that she's ill. and I promised her that I would take care of her for the rest of my life. She's ill because she was unlucky enough to be kidnapped. What does that have to do with you? James, you can't ruin your whole life just out of pity and sympathy for her. Seeing that the woman he loved was worried about his safety and always thinking of him, James felt guilty. It's not like that. Olivia wasn't kidnapped because of bad luck. There were other reasons. What reasons? Miss Crest. James refused to say. Me cried and pleaded, James, I love you. I can give everything for you. You don't have to hide it from me. You can tell me, and we'll face it together. Under Emma's confession, James let out a long sigh. Olivia became like this all because of me. I'm the one who caused her to be like this. Not wanting Emma to worry and believing that I was in a coma and wouldn't wake up, James confessed everything to Emma. At that time, Olivia's family fell into decline. My parents didn't agree to me being with her. And I loved her so much then that I would marry no one but her. So my parents arranged for someone to kidnap Olivia to make us break up completely. They let the kidnappers humiliate her like that, just wanting me to dislike Olivia and break up with her. They didn't expect that Olivia would be so strongly stimulated and become like this. In a way, I'm sorry for her. If I had listened to my parents and broken up with her back then, she wouldn't have ended up like this. That's why I can't give up on her. Hearing James' words, I tightly grasped the bedsheet with my hand. I never expected that the kidnapping case was actually done by James' family. James' parents are so vicious. They wanted me to be so ashamed that I couldn't show my face and leave James voluntarily, but they didn't expect that I would be stimulated and get seriously ill. James knew that his parents were the main culprits who hurt me, but he hid everything from me. He married me and took care of me in a way that seemed like a favor, thus gaining a good reputation. But it's all his parents' fault that I became like this. I was harmed by them. Anger filled my heart. I really wanted to tear James apart, and get rid of James' parents who had harmed me. Emma, who knew the truth, was also very shocked. She didn't expect there to be such a hidden story and didn't know what to say for a moment. She just pretended, James, you're so pathetic. You're not at fault. You're a responsible and kind person. I love you very, very much. James was deeply touched by Emma's confession. He confessed to Emma. If I had met you earlier, I definitely wouldn't have fallen in love with Olivia, and I definitely wouldn't have agreed to marry her. Then I wouldn't have had to marry her out of guilt for what I owed her. Mother, this matter has been weighing on my heart for a long time. And I've never told anyone else. Today, I'm telling you. Please don't tell anyone else. Ma naturally agreed readily. Neither she nor I expected that there would be such a secret hidden in James and my marriage. Mama knew that she couldn't force James to divorce me and marry her. She couldn't act high and mighty like in her previous life, scheme against me and wait. She had to take the initiative and change her tactics. Ma hugged James with tears streaming down her face. James, I love you to the extreme. I dream of being with you. Having children for you. But my upbringing and education don't allow me to do anything against morality. But after knowing how much you've sacrificed, I feel so sorry for you. James, I'm willing to be with you even if it means going against morality. Really? Nolly willing to be with me? Ma's sudden change of attitude and no longer playing hard to get made James overjoyed. He lowered his head and kissed Emma. Ma naturally didn't refuse and cooperated fully. I was in a luxury ward. Those two shameless people believed that I was in a coma. They were so shameless that they couldn't wait to start fooling around right in front of me. I was disgusted and wanted to close my eyes tightly to avoid seeing this disgusting scene. When I closed my eyes, I suddenly saw a flash of red light. I looked in the direction of the red light and found that it was actually a button from Emma's clothes that she had taken off. No wonder Emma had sent me so many videos of her and James being affectionate through a secondary account. It turned out that she had been carrying a pinhole camera and filming anytime and anywhere. I sneered inwardly. Ma probably wanted to film those disgusting videos of her and James, and continue to provoke me to make me go crazy. Since Emma wants to provoke me, I'll take her challenge. I hope she'll like the surprise I'll give her next. When Emma and James were lost in passion and couldn't bear to part from each other, I raised my hand and pressed the call button. The luxury ward was specially equipped with several nurses and doctors. As soon as I pressed the call button, the doctor immediately rushed in with the nurses. Pushing open the door and seeing James and Emma in the room, the doctor and the nurses were stunned and let out screams at the same time. Everything happened so unexpectedly. James and Emma were immersed in pleasure and never dreamed that someone would come in. The reason they dared to be so blatant was that they were certain that I wouldn't wake up for a while and that the doctors and nurses in the luxury ward wouldn't come in casually. In full view of everyone, the two of them were seen in such an embarrassing state, which was really astonishing. When had the noble and extraordinary James ever lost such a great face? He roared at the doctor and the nurses who were standing at the door, stunned. "Get out! All of you get out!" Seeing this, the doctor and the nurses wanted to back out. But how could I let this farce end like this? I, who had been pretending to be unconscious, sat up at this moment. I rubbed my eyes and looked at James and Emma, who were not wearing clothes, in disbelief. "James? Is that you? Am I seeing things? What are you doing?" James was at a loss for words. After asking this question, I let out a deafening scream as if I had been suddenly stimulated. Then I jumped out of bed barefoot and rushed towards the door. After being roared at by James, the doctor and the nurses instinctively prepared to close the door and leave. But they didn't expect that I would scream and jump out of bed and run outside. I pulled open the door that the doctor and the nurses had closed and let out a deafening scream. Seeing me in such a stimulated state, the doctor and the nurses immediately grabbed me. I started to go crazy, scratching, biting, and shouting at the doctor and the nurses. Then my crazy behavior soon attracted James' bodyguards, so the bodyguards also saw James and Emma, who were in a hurry to put on their clothes. It wasn't just the bodyguards. The doctor, and the nurses who saw James and Emma in their embarrassing state. My screams and madness also alerted all the people who were accompanying patients, seeing doctors and visiting patients, and they all came to watch the excitement. It's human nature to be curious and watch the excitement. Everyone took out their phones and started filming. James angrily asked the bodyguards to stop them, but it was of no use. Gossiping is in people's nature, especially about such a big scandal as infidelity. The husband was with his mistress right in front of his wife. The wife was so stimulated that she had an episode. TSK. Just thinking about it was exciting. After I was given another sedative by the doctor and woke up from my coma, the scandal that happened in the hospital had already spread. James' family company immediately arranged for public relations to deal with this matter and spent a lot of money to delete the videos and posts. So this matter didn't make it to the trending topics. However, it alerted the old master of James' family and James' parents. The people from James' family called James back and scolded him. James' family didn't think much of me, a bankrupt young lady, in the first place, and naturally, they thought even less of someone like Emma. James' parents asked James to break up with Emma immediately. They were happy to know that James had another woman and asked James to divorce me, so that they could find a rich young lady who was worthy of James. James had a fierce quarrel with his parents, and it was really an ugly scene. He blamed all of this on me. If it weren't for my going crazy, the matter between him and Emma wouldn't have been made such a big deal. Ma had clearly agreed to be his mistress and be with him passionately, but I had ruined everything by making it public. James had a trace of pity for me before, but now all that was left was disgust. He was as eager as in his previous life to completely break away from me and start a new life. I was treated in the hospital for half a month. And James never showed up. He arranged for more than a dozen bodyguards to guard me day and night and put me under house arrest. I ate well, slept well, and waited for James to take the initiative to mention divorce to me. Finally, more than a month after I left the hospital and went home, May sent me a pregnancy test report showing that she was 4 weeks pregnant. Then James, who had been avoiding me, showed up. This was the first time he had appeared in front of me since the incident between him and Emma had blown up. Along with James, there was also a divorce agreement that had already been signed. James thought that I had had an episode that day and didn't know anything. He thought he had disguised himself very well and treated me like a fool. He thought that after deleting the news that had spread outside, he could act as if nothing had happened. He looked at me affectionately as he used to, and his tone was gentle. "Olivia, I'm sorry for you. I don't want to divorce you, but you're really terrifying when you have an episode." He took out his phone and showed me the photos of his injuries. I had bitten his hand, scratched his face, and he also showed me the subsequent medical records. James asked me, "Olivia, do you remember what you did to me?" Of course I remember, I sneered in my heart. But on my face, I showed an expression of extreme surprise and disbelief. Did I do this to you? How is that possible? How could I ever lay a hand on you? So is that why you haven't come to see me these days, because I hurt you? I'm such a fool. Olivia, that's the truth. You had an episode. A very violent one. You didn't just hurt me, but also hurt others without discrimination. My parents were extremely angry when they found out. They forced me to separate from you, or they would kick me out of the James family with nothing. For our future, I had to agree to my parents and separate from you. Olivia. You will understand me, won't you? These were the most pleasant words I had heard since I was reborn. I was overjoyed, but on my face, I showed a sad expression. Please don't abandon me, okay? James, please don't leave me. Olivia, be good, I'm not really going to divorce you. I'm just doing this to deal with my family. You also know that your medical treatment requires a lot of money. Without money, we can't do anything. I looked torn and sad. James coaxed me patiently. This isn't a real divorce. It's just a fake divorce to deal with them. Once you sign this, we'll still be the same as before, and I'll always take care of you. Really? I sobbed as I picked up the divorce agreement. I looked at it while crying and asked, how am I going to live without you? I can't do anything, and I don't know anything. Olivia, don't worry. I've given you enough money to last you several lifetimes. My eyes fell on the property division. After seeing that the property was divided equally between us and the inventory of the cleared property, I felt relieved. I grabbed the pen and signed my name on the divorce agreement. I signed the agreement so readily without the expected fuss, which surprised James. He stared at me, looking me up and down. Olivia, do you really agree to divorce me? You seem to have changed a lot. James's suspicious gaze made me startle. I was so eager to get a divorce that I didn't even bother to pretend when I signed just now. This was indeed likely to arouse suspicion. To dispel his doubts, I immediately rubbed my eyes a few times and said tearfully, yes, I agree, but my heart hurts so much. I covered my chest with my hand. Just thinking about separating from you makes me want to die. But if we don't separate, I'll hurt you. You'll lose everything you have now. I'm so sorry for hurting you. To prevent me from hurting you again and to keep you from losing everything you have now, I have to let you go. I pretended to be reluctant, which was in line with my previous attachment to James. I used to love him so much. He thought I was afraid of hurting him. He thought I believed his nonsense and was afraid that his future would be damaged, so I agreed to the divorce. There was actually a trace of emotion in his eyes. Olivia, you just focus on getting treated. As long as you recover from your illness, we'll be together again. I will obediently get treated. James, can you come and visit me often in the future? I'll die without you. Seeing me suddenly becoming clingy, James was scared. He immediately made an excuse and wanted to leave. I reluctantly saw James off. After seeing him drive away quickly as if avoiding a snake, I closed the door and burst into wild laughter. Finally, my wish came true. Great. James soon asked a lawyer to handle the divorce procedures. According to the regulations, we could only get the divorce certificate a month later. After learning that James and I were in the countdown to divorce, Emma heaved a sigh of relief. She began to frequently appear with James, and attend events together as James's legitimate significant other. The James family didn't think much of me when I was a bankrupt young lady in the first place, and naturally, they also looked down on Emma. They were very unhappy after learning about James and Emma. The James family was very determined to keep James and Emma apart. James was a strange person. The more the James family tried to stop him, the more persistent he became. Just like when the James family tried to stop me from being with him before, he held Emma in the palm of his hand and went against the James family. While James was engaged in a battle of wits with the James family over Emma, I started to deal with my half of the property. Most of the property James divided for me consisted of real estate, luxury cars, jewelry, cash, and invested stocks and funds. I started to sell the real estate, luxury cars, jewelry, and stocks and funds. I dealt with these things very quickly, and soon I had a substantial amount of money in my pocket. During the divorce schooling off period, I didn't take the initiative to contact James even once. James was also busy dealing with things related to Emma, and didn't have the time to pay attention to me. Soon, the day came when James and I were to get the divorce certificate. On that day, I got up early, had breakfast, and then went to the Civil Affairs Bureau early to queue up and get a number. I even took the initiative to call James and remind him to go to the Civil Affairs Bureau to get the certificate. Not long after I got the number, James also arrived. We didn't talk much and started to go through the divorce procedures. We were the first couple to handle the divorce, and the process was surprisingly fast. Soon, the red marriage certificate was replaced with a green book. I held the divorce certificate and quickly walked out of the hall. James followed behind me. He probably felt guilty. Olivia, if you have anything, you can contact me at any time. I will definitely do my best to help you. I smiled slightly. No need, since we're already divorced. Let's go our separate ways and not bother each other. My words made James stunned for a moment. Olivia, are you sure you want to go our separate ways and not bother each other? Of course. Isn't it crazy to keep in touch after we're divorced? I'm not that bored to look for you. A good ex should be like their dad. After saying that, I stepped into the car in big strides and started the car and drove away at high speed under James's surprised gaze. After divorcing James, I immediately started a round-the-world trip with a huge divorce settlement. I enjoyed sunbathing to my heart's content, went skiing and diving, and even tried extreme sports. The days were very enjoyable. Everything was fine except that James kept harassing me, sending me messages and calling me, which annoyed me. It's also funny to say that when James and I were married, he cheated, had a mistress, and betrayed me. But after I divorced him and ignored him, not even giving him a second glance, he was so despicable that he took the initiative to contact me, sending countless greeting messages every day and making several calls to me. I really don't understand his way of thinking. Dealing with him was very annoying. To avoid unnecessary trouble, I directly blocked James. I thought that without a way to contact me, James would stop harassing me and start a happy life with Emma, the woman he loved. But that wasn't the case. My blocking of James made him extremely angry. He went to the place where I lived to look for me. Then he learned that I had sold all the properties and real estate that were divided for me. James was stunned. He never dreamed that I would do such a thing. He couldn't figure out why I did this. Wasn't I ill? Since I loved him so much, I should have been waiting for him after the divorce, right? How could I have sold all the real estate and disappeared? After failing to figure it out, James started to inquire about my news everywhere and then began to ignore Emma, whom he once loved as his life. Emma had been sure that after I divorced James, she would be able to take my place and become Mrs. James. But the result was very different from what she had expected. The James family refused to accept her. Even her pregnancy didn't help. And James didn't protect Emma as he did in the previous life, and didn't think she was the only one for him. After getting what he wanted, James also thought that Emma wasn't that attractive anymore. She was too flirtatious and promiscuous, only suitable to be a bed partner, not a wife. Emma noticed James's coldness. After being rejected several times when she proposed marriage, Emma was angry and furious. She didn't dare to confront James and shifted all the blame onto me. Emma thought I was still the ill Olivia. She thought that provoking me would make me go crazy and die. She sent me all the intimate videos of her and James that she had already recorded. Those videos not only included the one where she and James fooled around in the hospital right in front of me on the hospital bed. There were also intimate videos of James and her in the car, in the restroom, in the kitchen, on the balcony, and even in James's company office. Emma said venomous lie to me. Old woman, do you think James really loves you? No. He doesn't love you at all. The only reason he married you was out of guilt. It was the James family that caused you to become like this. He married you out of guilt. He has long been disgusted with you, a crazy woman whom he can't even touch. Ma thought I would be driven crazy by her provocation. But unfortunately, I remained indifferent. I just saved all the videos and provocative messages she sent me. After all, Wilma is so despicable and shameless. There's no telling how she might scheme against me. If she dares to do anything, I won't hold back on her. Seeing that I was indifferent to what she sent, Ma couldn't hold on any longer. Because James was coming to see her less and less often. When she took the initiative to call James, he would reject her, and he wouldn't reply to her messages either. Even when she mentioned the child in her belly several times, James still ignored her. All these signs indicated that she no longer had a place in James's heart. and James was about to give up on her. Mo was unwilling to let all her efforts go to waste. Without carefully finding out the reason, she always believed that I was up to something. In a fit of anger, Emma, just like in her previous life, took a risk and prepared to smear and frame me. Momo was kidnapped. After being taken away by the kidnappers, they called James and demanded a ransom of 100 million yuan. The kidnappers treated Emma the same way they had treated me before, tearing her clothes and beating her up. When James got the news that Emma was kidnapped, he was also shocked and immediately called the police to rescue Emma. Finally, with the efforts of the police, Emma was successfully rescued. After surviving the ordeal, she hugged James and cried bitterly. The police immediately interrogated the kidnappers, and they all unanimously accused me of paying them to kidnap Emma. The reason was that I hated Emma for breaking up my marriage with James. And I wanted to make sure she had no place to be buried. James believed all of this, and the police also believed the kidnappers' confessions. This far abroad, received a call from the police asking me to go back and accept the investigation, or they would start a global manhunt for me. I didn't expect that Emma liked courting disaster so much. In the previous life, she framed me and made me die so miserably. I hadn't even taken the initiative to settle the score with her, yet she started targeting me again on her own initiative. Who did she think she was? Did she really think there was no law? Instead of going back, I sorted out all the things Emma sent me and sent them to all the media outlets that were paying attention to this matter. All the video messages in which Emma provoked me from the beginning to the end were exposed. The trending topics were unstoppable, and everyone was stunned when they saw the exposed things. Emma's shamelessness aroused public indignation. People had seen all kinds of shameless mistresses, but no one had ever seen a mistress as arrogant, shameless, and despicable as Emma. While scolding, everyone started to dig up Emma's information through online sleuthing. Emma herself was not clean and couldn't withstand the online investigation. Soon, all her secrets were exposed. It turned out that her so-called working part-time to support herself through school and working in a nightclub was actually to catch men. The men she had seduced were not just one or two. Several rich second-generation men whom she had flirted with came forward to testify. Some people directly rejected her advances because they were simply not interested in women with Emma's looks. Others fell for her and had a relationship with Emma for a while. But when Emma tried to take a more serious position, they dumped her. Emma was not a pure and innocent woman. The fact that she had gone to the hospital for hymen repair surgery was also dug up. The onlookers exclaimed in surprise. She was not very old, yet she had undergone for hymen repair surgeries. Facing the backlash of public opinion, Emma was panic-stricken. She tried to make amends. But unfortunately, the situation had already escalated beyond her control. The fact that she was a gold digger was known to everyone. After the police found that Emma's character was not trustworthy, they interrogated several kidnappers again. This time, the kidnappers didn't dare to accuse me. They all unanimously testified that everything was a drama written and directed by Emma herself. May promised to give each of them 10 million yuan after the deed was done and also promised to help them avoid punishment. Now that the matter had been exposed, the 10 million yuan was naturally gone. The kidnappers were not fools. Without any benefits, how could they be willing to work for Emma and make wedding clothes for her? Mo was arrested by the police and interrogated. On the other hand, James encountered the biggest trust crisis in his life. James's reputation was completely ruined. Back then, when James married me regardless of everything, everyone looked at him with new respect. But now, after the incident with Emma blew up, everyone knew that James was a despicable person. He cheated on his wife during the marriage and even fooled around with his mistress in front of his sick wife, provoking her to have an episode. The news that had been suppressed by the James family by all means before exploded on the trending topics. Everyone was angrily scolding James, saying that he was a despicable person and that my illness might have been caused by him. What kind of good person could a man who cheated on his wife and put on a false show be? In addition, in the videos Emma sent me, James had revealed everything about how the elders of the James family had damaged my reputation. The James family's vicious and shameless calculation that made me suffer from severe psychological problems made the righteous public very angry, and they all demanded punishment for the elders of the James family. Under pressure, the police questioned the elders of the James family, and this matter caused a great stir. The kidnappers who had kidnapped me before were interrogated again. Facing the video of James's confession, the kidnappers had to reveal the mastermind behind the scenes. James's parents were detained pending trial. In addition to James's parents being arrested, the image of James as a doting husband that he had built before was shattered. After marrying me, James had always created an image of himself as a doting husband. It was widely rumored that he would never leave me, and everyone outside envied me. A sick woman, for having been in love with him, my childhood sweetheart, for more than 20 years. Now that the truth was revealed, James was not a doting husband at all, but a shameless cheating man. Angry people attacked James's official website, and a large number of netizens went to his company to protest. Wherever James went, he was like a rat crossing the street, drawing curses and abuse from all. The stock price of the James family's company plummeted, and the situation was out of control, causing heavy losses to the company. This was not the worst part. The really bad thing was that the James family's company was facing a huge withdrawal of investment from investors. Back then, the image of James as a loving husband that he had deliberately created when he insisted on marrying me had touched a financial tycoon. The financial tycoon had specially invested billions of yuan in the James Group, making the James family earn a lot of money in the past few years. Now that the truth was revealed, the financial tycoon felt deceived and was so angry that he announced the withdrawal of investment. The James family was facing a shortage of funds. If they couldn't make up for the investment of the financial tycoon in time, the James family would be at risk of bankruptcy. James was worried sick overnight. His parents were detained for trial and couldn't be bailed out. Coupled with the risks faced by the company, he borrowed money everywhere. But when the wall falls, everyone pushes. His friends who used to smile at him now avoided him. No one was willing to lend him money for working capital, and the bank also stopped lending. James hated Emma to death. After Emma was detained by the police, she made an excuse of feeling unwell due to her pregnancy and caused a commotion in the detention center, insisting on being released on bail for medical treatment. Considering that the child in Emma's belly was James's. After the police informed James, James asked his lawyer to bail out the pregnant Emma. Emma didn't know how critical the situation was. She thought James bailed her out because of the child in her belly. She was still planning to make a comeback with the help of the child, but things turned out to be completely different from what Emma had expected. On the night of bailing out Emma, James threw Emma into the basement. There were several burly men there, grinning heavily and waiting for her. Emma got what she deserved. She was raped and had a massive hemorrhage. She lost the child. Because the massive bleeding couldn't be stopped, she lost her uterus and almost lost her life. James didn't want to kill Emma. He was just taking revenge on her. When Emma woke up in the hospital and realized that she had lost the qualification to be a woman and that her face, which she had relied on for a living, had also been scratched and disfigured her into an ugly woman, Emma then realized that James was just as ruthless as she was. By now, Emma knew that there was no hope for her to make a comeback. She was a radical person herself. How could she swallow this humiliation? Emma dragged her sick body out of the hospital and sneaked into James's house in the dark. She found a knife and pounced on James when he appeared. James was stabbed twice, and then during the fight he pushed Emma off the second floor. Emma died on the spot, and James was rushed to the hospital for treatment. Because the surveillance showed that Emma had taken the initiative to attack James, James was acting in self-defense. James was exempt from punishment and stayed in the hospital for a long time to recover. The James family's company was getting worse and worse. After the shortage of funds, it was also found to have evaded taxes. James's parents and grandfather all ended up in prison, and only James managed to escape. When James was at the end of his rope, he thought of me. After the divorce, he had divided half of the property with me. If I was willing to listen to him, he could still rely on the money in my hands to make a comeback. He kept changing his phone number and sending me messages, asking me to help him. He said that he had been bewitched and deceived, and he shifted all the blame onto Emma. He wanted to absolve himself of all responsibility. He also sent me pictures of his pitiful state, hoping to make me soften my heart. If it were the previous Olivia who was stupidly and deeply in love with James, she might have believed his explanation. But I was no longer the Olivia of the previous life. I was the Nyokoli Olivia who had died once and been completely hurt by him. How could I believe a single word James said? I ignored James. Under his continuous bombardment by changing phone numbers, I was so annoyed that I directly changed my own phone number. I continued to travel abroad and enjoy my life. 1 year later, I returned to my home country. I wasn't alone, instead, I was pregnant and brought along my fiancé whom I met abroad. After traveling around the world for a month abroad, I met a young and handsome fellow countryman in Santorini. His name was William. I met William by chance. Someone tried to rob me, and William saved me. To repay him, I treated William to a dinner. William was very talkative, and I didn't dislike him in terms of his appearance or any other aspect. He was also on a round-the-world trip like me, so we started to team up and act together. William was proficient in several languages and had a deep understanding of the customs and cultures of different places. I didn't have to worry at all when traveling with him. We visited all the countries in Europe. During our journey together, I suddenly realized something. I didn't dislike William getting close to me. When he held my hand or supported me, I didn't resist or scream. When I divorced James, my attending doctor told me that my illness could be cured, but it would take time. I knew that my illness hadn't fully recovered. But why was I able to accept William? This puzzled me. When we were in Provence, I drank too much wine because of my excitement. I had no memory at all of what happened between me and William. When I woke up, William, who is always generous, actually took the initiative to ask me for a formal relationship. He said that he was still a virgin, and since I had been intimate with him, I had to give him a proper status. Just like that. I was pestered by him in a muddle-headed way, and we continued our round-the-world trip. Our relationship became much closer than before. It's normal for single men and women to do certain things. William had incredibly good physical strength. Later on, I got pregnant. He took me from Europe to Asia, and he officially proposed to me in the Maldives. I didn't refuse. During the trip that lasted for more than half a year, I fell in love with William. I wanted to give myself a chance to love someone well and a chance to be loved by someone. We stayed in the Maldives for 2 months, and then we went to Japan and Singapore. By the time we returned to our home country, my belly was already more than 6 months pregnant. After returning to the country, William couldn't wait to take me to the Civil Affairs Bureau to get the marriage certificate. He made a 3-point agreement with me. My property was prenuptial property, and belonged only to me, while his property was marital joint property, and belonged to both of us. If he betrayed me, he would leave the marriage with nothing. Back in the country, William took me to live in his house. William's family lived in Beijing, in a place where every inch of land was precious. A single villa was worth more than 1 billion yuan. When I stepped into his house with him, I realized that he was actually an invisible rich man. His family wealth was more than I could have ever imagined. In fact, since I started my relationship with William, I had always been cautious, fearing that William was after the property in my hands. But when I saw his house worth more than 1 billion yuan, the dozens of limited edition luxury cars in his garage, and his private jet and yacht, I suddenly felt a bit ridiculous. I felt at ease and started to take care of my pregnancy, having regular prenatal checkups. I didn't expect to see James in the hospital. He walked limping and looking haggard from one end of the corridor. He didn't have bodyguards with him, and his clothes and appearance were very ordinary. James was stunned the moment he saw me. He wanted to come closer, but the suddenly appearing bodyguards blocked him. He shouted my name like a madman and rushed towards me frantically. The bodyguards were quick and stopped him. I watched as James was kicked to the ground by the bodyguards, and they punched and kicked him. I didn't feel any waves in my heart as I listened to his screams. When I got home, William also came back. He kissed me first and asked about the baby. After I replied that everything was fine, William took the initiative to ask about James. I didn't hide anything and told William about my previous relationship with James. William smiled softly. So that's how it is. He really didn't know a good thing when he saw it. Thanks to his leaving, I was able to get my treasure. I laughed at his glib tongue. He hugged me and said, "Really, I originally planned not to get married, but after meeting you, I actually had feelings for you. Come to think of it, this is fate." William took the initiative to confess his identity. I was very touched when I heard that he had a deep love for you, so I had someone invest in the James family. I didn't expect him to be such a person. "So, you're that mysterious financial tycoon who invested in the James family's company?" "Yes, it's me." After going through so much, I didn't expect that I would actually marry the financial backer who invested in the James family. James probably never dreamed that I, whom he had discarded like an old shoe, would be so lucky to marry up. I felt a bit sad. The bodyguard came to ask for instructions, saying that James had come and was outside, clamoring to see me and saying that he had something important to tell me. William and I looked at each other. William helped me stand up. James was in a sorry state and was blocked at the door by the bodyguards. There was blood seeping from the corner of his mouth, and he was dirty all over. He looked up with a surprised expression when he heard the footsteps. When he saw my round and bulging belly and William, who was half embracing me, his face instantly turned pale. Olivia, are you married? I looked at him inferently. I heard that you wanted to talk to me. What do you want to say? James mustered up his courage. Can I talk to you alone? Just the two of us? There's no need, I directly refused. I'm already someone else's wife, and I'm afraid my husband won't be happy. So either you say it in front of my husband, or don't say it at all. James didn't expect me to answer like this. After struggling for a while with a pale face, he finally spoke. Olivia, I'm sorry for you. All that happened before was my fault. The James family went bankrupt, and all their property was confiscated. My parents are also in prison and they deserve it. Olivia, I was just muddle-headed and did something wrong to you. I'm at the end of my rope now. Olivia, can you lend me some money? I'll pay you back. James looked humble enough. I looked at him and said word by word, impossible. I won't lend you money. I'd rather burn all my money than give a single cent to someone as heartless as you. James looked at me with a pale face. I continued, don't get me wrong. I'm not refusing to lend you money because I still have feelings for you or because I hate you. They say that the opposite of hate is love. I can clearly tell you that I don't love you anymore. I just simply dislike and loathe someone like you. I just want to see someone like you live a life worse than death. James was driven out by the bodyguards, and William and I went back to the villa. William held me and sat on the sofa, gently stroking my belly. I thought you might feel sorry for him. No, I will never feel sorry for him. In my previous life, I was framed by the James family. And he knew about it from the very beginning, yet he treated me so cruelly. I can't let go of that. It's completely impossible for me to help him. It's already a blessing for him that I didn't kick him when he was down. What does it matter to me whether he lives or dies from now on? 3 days later, a breaking news was pushed on the local news. The ailing man suffering from a terminal illness chose to end his life by jumping off the hospital building because he didn't have money for treatment. I saw the face of the man who was lying on the ground in pieces. I quickly swiped past it. Living is the greatest pain, and death can solve everything. He treated me so cruelly in my previous life, so this can be considered as retribution. James's death didn't have much of an impact on me, and I soon forgot about it. Days passed peacefully and happily. 3 months later, I gave birth to a healthy baby. After the baby's full moon, William and I held a grand wedding at the